This tank is the Ru251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is Abbey or Monastery. I am going to get 4,000 spotting damage in this game. Almost every game I go to the right except for when I play in the Tier 2 games. Luckily, it's a lot easier to spot over here than it used to be. They actually made spotting easier on this map rework. You go over to this little island over here, and there's a couple different positions that you can use. But one thing you can do is you can climb up this mountain, wait until you're unspotted. I know that I'm spotted right now. And then go over into this bush and turn on your binocs. You can do a lot of spotting. I'm already up to 967 spotting damage. I do have to spot the M60, so I had to move further into the bush. Up to 1,300 spotting damage. Now the problem that we have is that we've got 6 enemy tanks and 3 allies firing their guns. So we're outnumbered 2 to 1. And they know I'm here. So an SPG took out the T-34B. We've got an STRV, which is possibly moving into a firing position. We lost one of our allies in the south. If they were smart, the T-10, all he has to do is sit there and do nothing. And now that the enemy team is advancing, the enemy team has wisened up. 2,700 spotting damage. Now I have no one that I can spot, so I'm not in a good position right now. And the smart thing for me to do is to get into a position where I can help. Looks like my allies are still able to do damage on that T-10. Looks like I missed my shot. So I got 3,100 spotting damage. Score 6 to 3, and I got 1 kill. I probably should have gone in sooner to help my team, because while all that was happening, I was unable to do any spotting for my team. And they probably would not have pointed their guns at me because they were pointing their guns at my other allied tanks. Score 7 to 5. You want to be careful when you come to this field. If you go the wrong way in the wrong game, you can get sniped at by enemy campers. You notice that I'm zigzagging. We don't know where the enemy is. I'm going to avoid driving on the enemy base. And you'll notice that I'm not driving towards the SPG. I'm driving perpendicular to him so that his gun and his hull have to turn, which means it's more difficult for him to aim at my tank. And what I was doing was I was just going to reverse and go back the way I came. Score is 10 to 6. I got 3,700 spot damage and 1,000 damage with my gun and 3 kills. Now I know that the low is coming back in my direction. The other enemy tanks are unspotted. I can see that the low had low health points, so I easily could have gone after him and finished him off. However, this Object 268, he's got a lot of hit points. He's a threat to me. Got to get away from him. Just drive through everybody. You don't have good gun depression on the rear of the 251. so you can't really shoot over the rear. And you'll notice that I didn't repair my my ammo rack yet. Looks like I fired too early. And that's the game. Did 4,000 spotting damage, 1,500 damage, and 3 kills. The base was captured. This tank is the Ru251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank, and the map is Glacier. I am going to get 4 kills, and I'm going to do 3,600 damage in this tank. One of the things that I like to do is I like to head to the center and spot enemy tanks immediately so we can get a little bit of intelligence. And I'm also trying to snipe at any vulnerable tanks that I can. You'll notice that most of the enemy tanks were behind rock formations, so they were difficult to take shots at. I have gotten some spotting damage, but I haven't done any actual damage yet. You notice we got a lot of heavy tanks on my team in the south. Not really an appropriate position. In general, you should play your tank where it plays best. And there's a certain point, for example, in the south, you can play any tank in any position you want. But that's not an ideal position for heavy tanks. Now you might want to know, how do you know where you play your tanks? It has less to do with the class. It doesn't matter if it's a heavy tank or a medium tank. What matters is how long is your reload, how much armor do you have, what's your turret like, how fast does your tank go. All those different things need to be taken into consideration when you determine where you play. For example, if you have a long reload, if you have a short reload, a fast reload, you want the enemy to be out in the open, which means you're going to have to play in a field. Because if you don't, then the enemy is going to take their shot and hide from you while you're sitting there unable to fire. So that's an example. Another example is a turretless tank, such as a turretless tank destroyer. You want to be in a corridor that protects your sides. If you have a tank that's vulnerable on the side or in the rear, you want it to be protected, so it would be good to have protection on both sides of your tank. So I began by playing in the middle of the map, and I was sniping at the Panther II that was climbing up into the spotting position. But now I've moved to the south of the map, the southeast, to help my team as they're spotting tanks along the road that travels on the edge of the map. You can see that it's difficult right now for me to get shots on those tanks. However, there are gaps in the road that they have to cross, and when they cross those gaps, if they're spotted, you'll be able to kill them. One thing about this particular game is it's showing a variety of the different positions. I saw an opportunity and I took it. You're getting to see a good variety of tactics. What to do when there's an enemy light tank who's a one-shot shooting on the tanks that are here in the forest area, shooting the tanks that are up in where the aircraft carrier is, spotting at the beginning of the game. So we're going to see a variety of tactics in this particular game. It's a very well-rounded game. I'm up to 2,000 damage and 1,100 spotting damage. Now I'm pretty much running out of targets. All of my targets are at the edge of my spotting range. I'm going to have to come up with a new strategy. You do have to be careful in this position. If you get spotted, you can get shot at from all different directions. So you do want to stay low if you get spotted over here. Stay on the south side of the buildings. There's a T-28 that could potentially shoot at me and a Scorpion G. So we have to spot that tank. I'm going to go and see if I can spot that tank. You can see that he's running away. He's still within range of my Scorpion G on my team. I could easily get right up on him there. He must be reloading. Because he is an autoloader, he is at some point going to run out of ammunition, which is going to cause him to retreat. You can see that my team has killed the last tank in the northwest. So I'm going to reposition my tank so that the Emil cannot shoot at me. The good thing about this particular game is it does show a variety of the tactics and strategy that you need to learn for this particular map. So the last thing we have to do is locate the final two tanks. And I may have made a mistake and assumed that he was out of ammo. I did ram him for 85 damage I got out of him. So although he did die, I made the incorrect assumption that he was out of ammo. I got 4 kills, 3,600 damage, and 1,400 spotting damage. This tank is the Ru251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is mines. I'm going to get 2,000 spot damage. Now, as you can see from this position, you can spawn a lot of enemy tanks as they leave their spawn. And this is not the only position that you can use. For example, there is a bush right there that you can use to get closer to them. But you're pretty much guaranteed to spot tanks if you go to that position. I only did 187 spotting damage, so my allies didn't really take advantage of it. As you can see, I moved to a closer position, which is the next island. I was able to spot a T-26E5. Plus, I saw a tree fall down next to him. So I know that there is definitely another tank to his right in the A4 area. There's 10 spotted tanks. 1 dead, which brings up to 12. 1 SPG, which brings it up to 13, which means that there's 2 unspotted tanks in the game. I'm waiting for my team to take out that T-26E5, and I was really disappointed at how long it took for them to do so. So now we're down to 1 unspotted tank in the game. It's probably safe for me to move forward and get closer to these tanks. But I'm not going to do so until we've dealt with this tank. That tank needs to be taken out of the game. As long as we can still spot him, remain in this position, and have him taken out of the game, and then move on to the next target. Up to 1,400 spotting damage. See, there's not a lot of shots going in. There is a bat chat. He's going to have to reload from his autoloader. Somebody's shooting and missing, that's for sure. Okay, so it looks like the Scorpion is the last unspotted tank. So now we know where everybody is except for the SPG. And now I know that I could move up to one of these positions. I could move up to here, up to this slope, behind this rock, over there where that bush is. I've got a couple of options now. Okay, so he's finally out of the game. Now I'm not spotting anybody. Okay, there's a Scorpion G that just became spotted. I know it's taking a long time, but it's best to sit and wait. I lost my allies, so the bat chat was taken out of the game by a Pershing. You'll notice that the score was 3-8 or 4-8, so I was worried a little bit about the fact that we were losing, and I wanted to take some action. We spent too much time dealing with those tanks over there, and the P-44 was not in a firing position. I should have turned left sooner. Trying to get away from those enemy tanks. And unfortunately, I was taken out of the game. The score is 6-11. This tank is the Ru251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank, and the map is Erlenberg. I am going to show you a spotting position that you can use on this map. Obviously, this is a new map. I haven't discovered all of the spotting positions yet. There's a few that I've been practicing with. The one that I've been using the most is the bush that's basically right in front of me. But this one will do just as well for this particular game. And I will say that I'm not getting a lot of spotting damage from being in this bush. However, it is allowing me to keep the enemy spotted and to prevent them from controlling this part of the map. Like you'll notice this T-54 Mod 1, he's not going to be able to go anywhere. Anytime he tries to advance, my allies are going to shoot him back. Every time he tries to come over that hill, he's going to be spotted immediately. So the enemy is going to stay pinned on the backside of that hill. That you'll notice that there's a mouse on the enemy team, which is right over there. And there's an IS-3 over there. They're going to head this way. And I'm going to be actually surprised at how long it's going to take for my allies to kill them off. It would be nice to have a sniper on my team who takes up a position perhaps in these houses behind me or in these houses in front of me or in these buildings over here. That would make a huge difference in the game. I am concerned about the mouse because the mouse is actually going to be able to get very close to me. I've only got 196 spotting damage so far. So now the IS-3 is trying to advance. I think he's hesitating because he's probably got his sixth sense going off. He knows that he's being spotted when he comes around there. You can see that there's been a lot of damage to the IS-3. The mouse lost 900 hit points. And the M46 Patton has lost some of its hit points, but I'm not getting credited with the spotting damage. Someone else is spotting those vehicles at this time. This may have been the first game that I used this spotting position. As you can see, the mouse just took a lot of hits, but I did not get the spotting damage for the hits on that mouse. So obviously the first thing I'm going to do is duck in for cover, wait to disappear. And then when I think it's safe, I'm going to take up another spotting position. They've got their eyes on me. They're in good positions where they could easily spot me. It's going to make it very difficult for me to advance. Oh, look at that. The mouse went all the way. He was all the way in the south. He really got far behind me. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this was my first attempt at that position. Let's move on to another video. This tank is the Ru251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is Siegfried Line. I am going to show you a sniping position that you can use on this map. This is an assault defend map, and I'm on the assaulting team. You'll notice that there's a tree over here. Knock the tree down. You've got hard cover on your left. You've got various trees that you can use for soft cover. You can spot from this location, and you can also snipe from this location. I lost the target right when I was about to go in for a shot. So now, because I was spotted, I'm going to fall back and count to 10. So obviously that time it did not penetrate. I'm going to count 10 seconds. Sometimes I use the reload timer on my tank to determine this, to help me count. And sometimes I look at the timer in the upper right corner and I just deduct 10 seconds. The 10-second rule works for me. If you do something shorter like 8 seconds or 7 seconds, you might run into problems. Now you're also going to notice that I've lost my allies in the north. So it's going to make the northern enemy tanks more aggressive. You have to be aware of that. They're going to become more aggressive. That time I was not spotted. And they are advancing on my position. I was not spotted. Now, in regards to my playing style, I don't like any of the brawling, and the reason why is I used to play from South America, and my computer had performance problems. It would overheat. So brawling was very difficult because when you're brawling with close combat, I would run into a lot of problems with drop packets, and the enemy had an advantage over me. So I got used to playing by flanking as often as possible, and I hate the brawling meta. So that's why I have this particular playing style. I got 1,583 damage from that position. Sneaky returning to that position. And you can do the same thing from the other side of this concrete barrier. There's 5 enemy tanks up there. This tank is the Ru251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is Fisherman's Bay. I am going to show you a spotting position that you can use when you play this game. One of the differences that I'm doing nowadays when I play is that I tend to snipe a little bit more often. Obviously, it took many years to learn how to do the passive scouting, but now if I think I can do some sniping, I snipe as well. Now you're going to ask, why did I go to this position? Look where my ally is, the ELC Even 90. You'll notice that he's not as far to the north as I am. I'm further north than he is. And what that means is I can spot deeper into enemy territory than my allies can. And the reason why I chose this position is because you cannot spot all the way to the northern red line, and tanks were getting past me on the way to town. So I wanted to try and get more tanks on the way to town. I always keep my gun targeted to an enemy tank, because if I get spotted, I'm going to fire my gun immediately and run away. You can see I got 1,400 spotting damage so far. I'm going to take a quick look around. You'll see that there's another bush over here. There's another bush over here where these buildings are. So we've got a lot of options here. Potentially one day I'll try this bush that's at the next house in front of me on the screen. One thing about this position is that I can notify my allies in chat whether or not I believe that enemy tanks have gone into the town. My allies that have gone into the town should be aware that they're not going into town. And so my allies that are in town are really not doing anything. I got 1,700 spotting damage. Now, because I'm spotted, I do want to hide or escape in this case. I'm pretty sure that there's nobody in the town, so I feel safe going this way. This video is about spotting positions, and this is going to be outside of the scope of the video, so let's move on to the next video. This tank is the Ru251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is Mannerheim Line, also known as Arctic region. I'm going to show you a sniping position that you can use in this game. Now, if you've watched my videos, you'll know that I often go to this bush. However, I play a different strategy now. Previously, I did it solely for spotting, but now what I do is a combination of spotting and sniping. I try to snipe on the tanks that are headed into the fighting position. For example, the ones that are heading into the east side, like that, and that tank right there. So I'm going to count to 10. There's an ELC that showed up behind me. But I just wanted to show you how you can hit tanks like that T-34B. So I was able to hit a T-34B who was on the way to the fight. I did 251 damage. With the STRV, who was up in that sniping position, I did 241 damage. And for the HWK light tank, who tried to come in, I did 241 damage. This tank is the Ru251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is Murovanka. This particular replay, I'm just going to show you some light tank gameplay. It's not going to be anything specific about spotting or scouting. And I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen in this game, so we're just going to have to find out together. So one of the techniques that I use when I begin spotting is I just kind of drive through the center of the map. He did not spot me. Okay, now he did spot me. And because I got spotted, I'm surrounding myself with buildings, so it makes it difficult for the enemy to shoot at me. He's low hit points, so I was trying to take him out of the game. I almost got him. Okay, so I got him out of the game. We got some other contenders. There's an AMX 1390 chasing after me. Weaving through the buildings, so it's difficult for them to get a lock on me, difficult for them to shoot at me. Watching that AMX, make sure that there's a building between me and him. Now the T-54 lightweight, the M41 Bulldog, and I, we're all going to gang up on that AMX 1390. You want to ram him if possible. Just barely missed the ram. Now, because I'm spotted, the last thing you want to do is just head straight south again. You want to kind of take some time to disappear off of the mini-map, because when all that action's going on, enemy tanks are pointing their guns, trying to help their teammate out. You want to be forgotten and then start over. You'll notice on the mini-map right in front of me, there's a triangle. And the triangle, this is the tip of the triangle where these roads are converging. And this house over here is within the triangle. If you go a little bit over to the left, I'll be able to snipe at the Conqueror and the other tanks that are in the middle of that area. From here, I cannot do it. I have to go a little bit south. And then now I'll be able to do it. So find that triangle. Look at where I am on the mini-map. You see my little white triangle, and the roads form a triangle with a building in the center. That's the area where you can get this sniping position from. So if you see tanks in the middle, just rush to this position. getting some good hits. Those were both 277 damage. You see the Emil is coming after me. Because I'm low on hit points, I'm going to avoid. I'm going to avoid engaging the enemy. I'm guessing what happened was the T-32 that I was hitting probably notified the Emil that there was a tank in the middle sniping on him, which is probably why he headed in that direction. And I've always advocated keep your mini-map as big as you can. I normally keep it at this size, but for the replay I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And learn to watch the mini-map constantly. The reason why I knew the Emil was coming up on me is because I saw him on the mini-map. Aye. Score is 8-3. I got 1,300 damage, 700 spotting damage. Okay, so that's the game for me. This game was a little bit of a balanced game. There was a little bit of not one-on-one, but there was a little bit of light tank versus light tank anti-scouting is what I call it. There was a little bit of spotting. There was some sniping. It shows the typical gameplay that you're going to expect at the middle of the map. It's unfortunately that the game ended early for me. Let's move on to another video.